Greetings from the Arcturians. I'm just thinking, why does President Trump wishes to invade and annex Canada? And the Arcturians are telling me that it's because President Putin has put that bug in President Trump's ear. It's because President Trump has been talking to President Putin, and it's President Putin who has put this bug in his ear. I see. And why does President Trump wants to quit NATO or exit NATO? Now I'm just looking at the news here, and it's from the New York Times, and the news headline says here, Europe's new reality. Trump may not quit NATO, but he's already undercutting it. Why even undercut it? Or is that just the first step to him wanting to exit NATO altogether? Why though? Because Canada is a NATO member country. Now I'm just going to read something here from Google quickly because I'm doing my own research here about this. It says Canada is a member of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO. Canada was one of the founding members of NATO in 1949. So why is Canada in NATO? Security. NATO is a cornerstone of Canadian security and defense policy. International cooperation. NATO is a platform for Canada to contribute to international peace and security. Transatlantic ties. Canada has worked to promote political, economic, and cultural bonds between NATO members. Right. Do I want to keep reading here? Canada's role in NATO. Canada helped write the North Atlantic Treaty. Canada has stationed troops in Europe. Canada has worked to expand the definition of security at NATO. Canada leads NATO's multinational battle group Latvia as framework nation. Canada's commitment to NATO. Canada has reaffirmed its commitment to working closely with NATO allies to ensure the alliance's security and stability. Canada's priority is to ensure the alliance remains modern, flexible, and able to face current and future threats. Right. So that's Canada and NATO, and Canada being a member of NATO. Now, Canada is also a member of the Commonwealth. Canada is a member of the Commonwealth. Canada joined the Commonwealth in 1931 as an independent state. Canada is a member of the Commonwealth, but it is not part of the United Kingdom. Canada joined the Commonwealth in 1931 as an independent state. The Canada Act of 1982 ended the final constitutional ties between Canada and the United Kingdom, but the Commonwealth is an association of countries that share values and have historic ties, many to the United Kingdom. Canada became a self-governing state within the British Empire in 1867 when 4 British colonies joined together as the Dominion of Canada. The Constitution Act of 1982 ended Canada's dependence on the Parliament of Westminster, UK Parliament. Canada and the United Kingdom share a sovereign King Charles III and are both parliamentary democracies. Canada has played an important role in the evolution of the Commonwealth, including serving as the first Commonwealth Secretary General from 1965 to 1975. Right. Canada first joined the British Commonwealth as an independent state in 1931. Right. Now, Canada is a member of the Commonwealth, but it is not part of the United Kingdom. But, and this is a big but, Canada and the United Kingdom still share a sovereign, meaning King Charles III. Okay, that is the key point here. Now, what does it mean to annex a country? To annex a country means to forcibly take control and sovereignty over another country's territory, usually following military occupation, and incorporate it into one's own jurisdiction. Now, isn't that what President Trump has been talking about? Making Canada as America's 51st state? Right. Here's a more detailed explanation. Forcible acquisition. Annexation is a unilateral act where territory is seized and held by one state, typically involving military occupation. Asserting sovereignty. The occupying power declares its sovereignty over the annexed territory, meaning it takes full legal and political control. No say for the other party. The other party, meaning the country whose territory is annexed, is not given a say in the process and has no legal recourse. Legitimation. Annexation is legitimized by recognition from other countries and international bodies. Distinct from cession. Unlike cession, where territory is given or sold through a treaty, annexation is a forceful takeover. Right. And that's what President Trump wants to do with Canada, a forceful takeover. Because President Trump has ambitions to make Canada America's 51st state. Because it's not going to happen voluntarily. I mean, Canada is not going to give up its sovereignty to the United States voluntarily. So then it would have to be a forceful takeover, right? Or an annexation, or an invasion, or an invasion. And this is exactly what President Putin is doing with Ukraine. And so President Putin is putting the same bug in President Trump's ear regarding Canada. I mean, we're just talking about Canada here, but also President Trump has also mentioned Panama, Greenland, and Gaza. Okay? Again, just like President Putin, because given the opportunity, President Putin will not just stick to invading and annexing and taking over Ukraine. He will then go on for the next territory, Poland or Moldova or some other Eastern European country. And on and on. You see my point? And these two, President Trump and President Putin, have been talking about all of this. And as I said, the Arcturians are telling me that President Putin has put this bug into President Trump's ear. President Putin is the one who's put this bug in his ear. Wow. And President Trump decided to go along with it? Like, what? Really? Because how do you think you're going to get away with all of this? And why do you even think that you'll get away with any of it? President Trump? Even President Putin is not getting away with trying to invade and annex and take over Ukraine. Can you not see the world situation even on that? And you think you can go ahead and invade or annex or take over Canada and Panama and Greenland and Gaza. And you'll just get away with it. And you can just do it and you'll just get away with it. The world will just let you get away with it. Are you really that oblivious? You are, because that's another thing the Arcturians have been telling me about you, that you are just that oblivious to the consequences of even thinking about this, or even trying to do this, or even having ambitions to try and do this. Because you're not going to get away with it. The world is not going to let you get away with it, President Trump, just like the world is not letting President Putin get away with whatever he's doing with Ukraine right now. The war with Ukraine. So, please, let us put some sense in you. Allow us, meaning me and the Arcturians, because you're a fellow Arcturian too, and part of the 144,000, and you need to actually start acting like one. Let us put some sense in you. Wow, what? I just came across something. Hang on. I'm just reading something about NATO here. As I said, I'm doing my own research and but the Arcturians are also telling me right now that President Trump, you wish to dismantle NATO. And of course, if President Trump goes after Canada, he will be invoking Article 5 of the NATO treaty. Now, Article 5 is a cornerstone of the alliance. Now, Article 5, in 1949, the primary aim of the North Atlantic Treaty, or NATO's founding treaty, was to create a pact of mutual assistance to counter the risk that the Soviet Union, Russia was the USSR, or, why can't I say it right? Anyway, let me read this. In 1949, the primary aim of the North Atlantic Treaty, NATO's founding treaty, was to create a pact of mutual assistance to counter the risk that the Soviet Union would seek to extend its control of Eastern Europe to other parts of the continent. Isn't that what President Putin is doing right now with Ukraine? Seeking to extend his control of Eastern Europe and who knows what else. Now, let me just read what Article 5 says here. The parties agree that an armed attack against one or more of them in Europe or North America, now Canada is North America, shall be considered an attack against them all, and consequently they agree that if such an armed attack occurs, each of them, in exercise of the right of individual or collective self-defense, recognized by Article 51 of the Charter of the United Nations, will assist the party or parties so attacked by taking forthwith, individually and in concert with the other parties, such action as it deems necessary, including the use of armed force, to restore and maintain the security of the North Atlantic area. Any such armed attack and all measures taken as a result thereof shall immediately be reported to the Security Council. Such measures shall be terminated when the Security Council has taken the measures necessary to restore and maintain international peace and security. This article is complemented by Article 6, which stipulates Article 6 says, for the purpose of Article 5, an armed attack on one or more of the parties is deemed to include an armed attack on the territory of any of the parties in Europe or North America. Okay, I'll just leave that one there. Right. And I think Article 7 is about international peace and security. Right. So, President Trump, is this why you want to exit NATO? Is this why you want to dismantle NATO? Because, simply put, if you're trying to invade and or annex or take over Canada, then NATO is in your way. Right? So, if you go after Canada, you will be invoking Article 5 of the NATO Treaty. Article 5 of the North Atlantic Treaty, or NATO, states that if a member country is attacked, all other members will consider it an attack on themselves. This means that all members will assist the attacked country, including potentially using military force. Key points. Article 5 is the foundation of NATO and is known as the one for all for one principle. If an attack occurs, each member country will decide what action they take to help the attacked country. Any armed attack and the resulting actions must be reported to the Security Council. The Security Council will decide what measures are needed to restore international peace and security. And I think Article 7 is actually on international peace and security. Article 7 of NATO Treaty. How Article 5 works. If a country feels attacked, the North Atlantic Council will discuss the situation. All allies must reach a unanimous political decision. Each member country is responsible for deciding what action they take in the circumstances. Article 5 is considered a deterrent as it has never needed to be invoked during the Cold War. But if President Trump is wanting to take over Canada in any way, shape, or form, he will be ending up invoking Article 5 of the NATO Treaty, which is about collective defense. Article 5 provides that if a NATO ally is the victim of an armed attack, each and every other member of the alliance will consider this act of violence and an act of war. I think I would also say. So, is this why you want to dismantle NATO, President Trump, and quit NATO or exit NATO, or have the United States quit NATO or exit NATO? Or I'm getting from the Arcturians that you want to dismantle NATO because, as I said, NATO is in your way. Actually, NATO is in President Putin's way as well, isn't it? Isn't that interesting? And since you're being all buddy-buddy with President Putin on all of this, then, oh wow, then President Putin is using you to dismantle NATO as well. So, but you're in on it, President Trump, which means that If President Putin can use you to dismantle NATO, then NATO will get out of both of your way. Then NATO will get out of President Putin's way, and NATO will get out of President Trump's way, your way also. Wow, all the plotting and scheming and wow. Okay, so now I'm connecting the dots. I see. So this is what you, President Trump, and President Putin have been scheming on all this time? Being all buddy-buddy, playing buddy-buddy. Ah, I see. President Trump, please, you need to come to your senses here with this, because if you go after Canada, Canada is still part of Commonwealth, and Canada still shares King Charles III with the UK. Or, Canada still has King Charles III as its sovereign. Which means what? Which means if you go after Canada, you will basically be going after King Charles of the UK, which means you will basically be declaring war with the UK and with King Charles. And you will basically be declaring war on UK, who is your biggest European ally. And resultantly, invoking Article 5 of NATO Treaty and declaring war on the UK and King Charles, because Canada still has King Charles as its sovereign. As a result of all this, you will be declaring war on yourself and the United States, on yourself and on your country. Do you see where I'm going with this? Have you considered all that? Have you thought about all that? Has anybody with a sound mind advised you on the repercussions and the consequences stemming out of all of this? For you, President Trump, and for your own country, the United States of America. Have you gone that far in your thought process when it comes to all this? I bet not. This is why I am bringing this up, and this is why we, the Arcturians, are bringing this up to you. So you can see some sense in terms of what you're trying to do here. Because President Putin is certainly not going to put any sense in your head, because he just wants to use you as his puppet so he can get what he wants with Ukraine and the rest of the Eastern European countries, whatever his ambitions are with that. And then he's trying to make you do the same, making you his accomplice, his accessory to his war crimes, and trying to make you into a war criminal as well. Oh my God. Do you understand what I'm saying to you, President Trump? Are you getting any of this right now? I think you're actually going to have to sit down and try and sink all this in after you watch this video, which you will, because you're watching me, you're watching us too. And is this how you're trying to make America great again? Wow. See, this is why you need me. And you need the Arcturians to be your advisor. But you're not having it, right? Oh well. Think about it. Are you sure you don't want me and the Arcturians, your star family, as your advisors? Are you sure, President Trump? I think you should reflect on that. I think you should sit down and do some self-reflection and reflect on that. Because did anyone advise you on this part of this particular situation? Did anyone advise you on this part where we're telling you that if you do this, you will basically end up declaring war on yourself and on your country, the United States of America, as well? Did anyone tell you about that part? Did anyone advise you on that part, on that particular part? And those consequences. For yourself and for your own country, America. Because simply put, you're not going to be able to dismantle NATO. You're not. Please come out of that delusion. We're going to leave this one here. Over and out.